Hello, I'm Nobby Clark. Welcome to my workshop. The job today is to finish off the T-nuts that I made for the box angle plate here. The two things I want to do is to pinch the bottom thread here so that the studs won't pass all the way through the T-nut, so that when the T-nut is in the T-slot and you insert the stud, that when you tighten down, you don't let the stud go right through the T-nut and damage the bottom of the T-slot itself. I've done one already. This is an 8mm stud for my hold down set, and I already, if you like, damaged the thread here so that the screw won't go all the way down, so that when that's in the T-slot, there's no way that that can be forced down and then damage the T-slot and jam the T-nut into the top of the angle plate. So I'll just bring the camera in a bit closer and just show you how I got round damaging the bottoms of the threads here. There are a number of ways of doing this, apparently. You can either use a punch and then insert that into the thread and damage the first couple of threads on here. What I did was test this out first on a piece of aluminium that I'd cut an 8mm thread into. But even on aluminium, I found there's danger that the point of the punch would slip and damage other threads below. The other suggestion from a couple of my friend subscribers to the channel is that what was to use a sharp punch, or use a ball bearing which you can press into the thread itself. I don't have any ball bearings of an appropriate size anyway, but I looked through the various tools that I have, and I found this punch. I don't really know what this was actually designed for. I picked this up with a number of other tools from a car show where there was a chap there selling a lot of tools for woodwork and metalwork, and I just saw this and thought, well, there may be a use for this in the future. So far, I've never found any sort of use for it. I'm sure it has a special purpose. It's a tapered punch with a hole drilled in the end here. But what I discovered was that would fit almost exactly into the thread here. So the one I've already done, that worked perfectly. I punched that in to the thread here, and it's only really damaged the first turn of the thread. And when you put the stud in, that comes to a dead stop. So that's the way I'm going to do it. I've just got a small vise on top of my homemade flat iron anvil. I can just lock that in the top and put the punch into the top here, and a few taps with the hammer, and hopefully that's got it. Try the screw in, and yep, that comes to a dead stop. So that obviously is the way to do it, and it's not damaging a lot of threads here. The thing is that with the aluminium one, I did as a test piece. I was able, I did try it with a punch first, and it actually damaged a few threads, so I just re-tapped it again. I guess I could do the same thing with these if for any reason I needed the stud to go all the way through. Let's pop another one in. Let's see whether we got this one as well. Yep, same thing. It stops it going all the way through the thread. So last one now. And yep, that's done exactly the same thing. So that's stopping that from going all the way through, and it means it won't damage the T-slot once I clamp something down. Put as much pressure on it as I like, and it's not going to twist that round and then damage the very bottom here. The next thing I want to do is to cold blue these parts. But what I've got to do is give them a really good clean to completely degrease them. When I've done cold bluing in the past, what I've normally done is wash the part thoroughly in quite strong detergent, and that really breaks down any grease on the item, because if you have any grease on it, or if you handle it once you've degreased it with your fingers, grease from your fingers will stop you getting a sort of nice even coating when you're doing the cold bluing. But I'll give these a good clean up with detergent, and then clean them off with either brake cleaner or alcohol or something like that, and I'll bring you back when I actually set up to cold blue these. The next stage is to actually do the cold bluing. I've thoroughly washed the parts in some quite strong detergent, give them a good scrub, and I've also given them a clean in sort of brake cleaner, and give them an air blast as well. I have done one already just to sort of test everything out, that the cold bluing is actually working okay. Explain why in a moment. Most important, wear some protective gloves, and also some protective safety glasses as well. I'm going to explain a bit more about that in a moment. So safety glasses on, and we'll pop one of the parts into the cold blue solution. Now what I normally do is just sort of whirl it round a bit and sort of try and turn it over, make sure it gets covered quite evenly all around. But you'll see it, if you can actually see that the bluing does react very, very quickly. Actually, it comes out sort of black base, basically. I suppose the cold blue thing comes from the gun trade more than anything else. When I generally leave them in here for quite a while, you know, to make sure it has a good chance of acting all over. Just swirl that round. Now, while I leave that in there for a bit, just to explain a bit about cold blue. The one I use, I actually bought this on one of the eBay sites. It's Philips Professional Cold Blue, and it's designed, as it says on the label, for guns, but also for screws and metal accessories. Now, if you're going to have a go at doing this, there are some safety warnings on here. Please read the safety warnings. There are some quite dangerous chemicals contained in this, which can be very, very harmful to you. So do read the instructions, please, on here, the safety instructions. As Norm Abrams used to say, let's talk about shop safety. It mixes 1 to 3 with just regular tap water, and I usually mix it and put it in another container and just sort of mark it up cold blue mixed. I think I did have the date on it, but it has sort of rubbed off now. Because it only needs a sort of 1 to 3 dilution, it will do quite a lot of material. I've put this material in a ramekin, which I pinched off my wife out of the kitchen, really just to sort of contain it in a small area because I'm only doing sort of very, very small components here. Normally I put it into these containers. I keep all the old freezer containers for all sorts of things around the workshop. This one just contains clear water, so once it's blackened enough that you're satisfied with it, you can then sort of dump it in the water there and just give it a wash off. Doesn't really matter how long you leave it in there, really. I don't think doesn't really make any difference to the finish. If it's given sort of, I don't know, about 5 minutes, something like that, it is generally enough. Once you've given it a good wash in sort of cold water afterwards, it just needs to be dried off thoroughly, and then coated with oil, because if you don't then coat it with oil afterwards, it will actually rust anyway. If you're not satisfied with the finish you've got here, you could just sort of clean them up, buff them up a bit, and do the process again. There's quite a lot of tools around the workshop that I've made myself. And Cold Blue, in one of my earlier videos, I did show some of the things I'd made, and I showed one with an example of this natural finish and its Cold Blue finish as well. But the thing is, if you're making things yourself, in the end, it gives you a nice sort of professional finish. I mean, I tried not to touch this solution even with these rubber gloves on anyway. I used just sort of a couple of sort of wooden skewers just to sort of take it out, and that's come up really nicely. We'll drop that in the water now, and let's just pop another one in. But as I say, very important to adhere to all the safety rules with this. You don't want sort of any harm to come to yourself. I think actually I could put both those bits in now and leave them in together. Actually, I'll move it around. You know, whether this is necessary or not, I don't know. But obviously, I want to make sure that, you know, all sides of the T-nuts are blued nicely. Just see if I can flip that over. I think the solution probably gets underneath these anyway, so it's probably nothing to sort of particularly worry about. So there we go. I'll just leave those in for a bit longer. Let them slosh around for a bit. I hope you sort of found that interesting. One thing I did find, well, I did a test piece first, and where I'd cleaned these thoroughly. Obviously, I hadn't cleaned them thoroughly enough, because on the first one the threads haven't blackened over properly, but they have on the next one, because the first one I didn't clean it with brake cleaner first. So I'm going to do that one again, take that one out and dry it off and spray it with brake cleaner, and then sort of clean inside the threads and just pop that in again so I can get the whole thing coated. They're both sort of coming up quite nicely now. I don't know sort of how well you can see that in the actual solution itself, but you saw me put them in the silver state. Yeah, blackened on both sides quite nicely. But very important that once you've done all this and given them a wash off, that you then coat them in oil and leave them coated in oil for a few hours or overnight, and then just sort of gently wipe them off. But you need a sort of a nice coating of oil on them, and obviously make sure you, as I've done here, sort of protect the surface. I've got some old newspaper under here with some paper towel just to protect everything. Then when there are, I imagine, lots of different brands of cold blue available out there, so there's probably other choices. There are some bluing materials that can be painted on with a brush. I think that's one of the ones that gunsmiths or gun owners use to repair scuff marks and damage on the metal parts of firearms. But I don't know anything about that side of things, so there we are. Well, that basically winds this up. I hope it was of some interest to you, seeing this. I know there's been lots of videos on YouTube about cold bluing by people who are much more expert than I am at doing it, but do have a go. But just be sensible, be careful, and adhere to all the warnings on the tin, basically. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me in the workshop again today, and again thank you very much to all the subscribers to my channel, and again to those that have sent me nice comments and encouragement and lots of tips and hints on things I'm doing here. Well, I hope to have another video for you very, very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye bye for now.